1 Epstein clearly points out that there was no client list. And you're sitting here, our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump.
It is the top of the hour. I'm Nichole Berlie, live in Chicago. Thank you so much for sticking with us. That was Attorney General Pam Bondi striking back during fiery testimony today on Capitol Hill. The country's top attorney grilled for hours today during a Senate hearing on a number of topics, including her handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files, as well as President Trump's crackdown on crime in some of the nation's big cities, including here in Chicago. NewsNation's Hannah Brandt is following the fiery testimony, joins us live now from Washington. So Hannah, AG Bondi taking plenty of heat, but also firing back.
Nichole, that's absolutely right. This hearing wrapped up after about 5 hours of questioning, some of it very tense. We watched as the Attorney General Pam Bondi walked out of the room and asked questions to her. As she walked out, she didn't take any of our questions, but she certainly wasn't pulling any punches in that hearing room. And at times, the exchanges with especially Democratic senators got extremely heated. I would point to one with Senator Richard Blumenthal, where he was asking her about concerns that the DOJ has become politicized and that Attorney General Bondi is going after President Trump's political enemies. Take a listen to what happened during that questioning.
What conversations did you have with Mr. Ballard?
Senator Blumenthal, I cannot believe that you would accuse me of impropriety when you lied about your military service.
I am
you
not
lied.
asking
You admitted you lied to be elected a U.S. senator. You lied. How dare you? I'm a career prosecutor. Don't you ever challenge my integrity.
And one of the examples that we've heard Democrats point to when they talk about the politicization of this Justice Department is the DOJ investigating Senator Adam Schiff for allegations of mortgage fraud. Senator Schiff was actually inside of that hearing room today. He had the opportunity to question Attorney General Bondi. He did not talk about his own case or that investigation, but he did ask her about different allegations against President Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, asking her about allegations that he took bribes and saying they're not being transparent about that case. And Attorney General Bondi fired right back. Listen to what happened there.
Will you support a request so that the committee, or indeed I believe the American people, should be able to see that video or audio tape? Will you support that request?
Will you apologize to Donald Trump for trying to impeach
the answer is you won't support that request.
After you now know that Joe Biden tried to cover up Hunter Biden's involvement with Ukraine.
Another major topic we heard the Attorney General question on a lot today was the decision from President Trump to send both federal troops and federal law enforcement into American cities as part of kind of a nationwide crackdown that he's engaging in. Attorney General Bondi has been very vocally supportive of that effort, several times telling Democratic senators she wished they cared about their cities as much as they hated President Trump. But actually, there was a Republican senator, Tom Tillis, who had some questions about this effort and even seemed to suggest that he didn't support the way that the administration is approaching this. Listen to how that exchange went down.
So give me some sense of if the deployment of the National Guard to Chicago or Portland is necessary to kind of create a shock to the system.
Senator Tillis, seeing what's happening in Chicago, they need the National Guard. Our ICE members need the National Guard to protect the national building.
And I asked Senator Tillis on his way out of the hearing room about his decision to press AG Bondi on that topic. He says he does support sending in troops to protect federal buildings, but doesn't believe it's sustainable to send those troops in to do other things like anti-crime efforts. Now, the other big topic here today inside of this hearing room was the DOJ's handling of the Epstein case. Even some on the right have previously suggested that the department has not been as transparent as it could be. The Attorney General pushed back on that and at times even changed the topic, throwing it back to Democratic senators and questioning them on why they weren't pushing for more transparency when it was President Biden and his Department of Justice in charge and overseeing that case. So certainly a lot of topics, Nichole, and a pretty tumultuous hearing here today.
Absolutely, 5 hours. All right, Hannah Brandt, live for us in D.C. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.